You'll notice we've got a table full of Whisper pickles.
So my name's Ben. I work at a company called Griffin Armament. We're primarily a silencer manufacturer, but we also do pretty much everything across the board, AR-15s.
Was that like a requirement to work at Griffin? Like you got to be able to take a 400-degree tube of metal off of the end of an AR-15? You guys have a patent on a metal.
Yeah.
I got to hear more. Something that we actually talked about earlier with you was the issue of finding skilled machinists in the United States right now.
But is this guy looks like a guy who just wants meat.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Just excessive amounts of meat in his freezer.
Welcome back to another episode of the AT3 Tactical Podcast. And you'll notice there's a new face here that you've probably never seen before. This doesn't look like Charlie. He's got way too much hair.
Yeah.
And of course, we've got CJ, who you all know, and I'm Josh. I'm sitting way closer to the camera, so you're not getting the Hobbit effect of me sitting right here.
This is what Josh really looks like to all of us.
My full 6.5 feet of
Full
height.
potential.
So, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone real quick?
Sure. So my name's Ben. I work at a company called Griffin Armament. We're primarily a silencer manufacturer, but we also do pretty much everything across the board, AR-15s. I work in their media department, so these guys were kind enough to invite me out here so we could do a little science out at the range, and I think we accomplished that today.
I think so. I think it was something like science. I wouldn't say
it
it
was
was
a peer-reviewed study.
Oh yeah, it was 100%. Scaps is a lab now.
We were the peers. Yeah.
And Sam, but
ourselves.
Sam's not here.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So we got Ben here from Griffin, and obviously you'll notice we've got a table full of Whisper pickles of nice little suppressors. So why don't you tell us a little bit about the history of Griffin first? Because some of these people might not know anything about Griffin.
Sure.
You guys are based out of Watertown, Wisconsin. We got Watertown just south of us here in
I feel like every state is
Minneapolis.
a Watertown.
What's the history behind Griffin? This is new for me. I haven't really looked too deep into you guys. I just know that you guys make some good cans, and I got to hang out with you at SHOT Show for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, for sure. That was nice. Yeah. So this was our 21st year in business. Started the company in 2005. It started by Austin Green, who was a Army sniper. Did multiple deployments with the Army, and then later did contracting with Triple Canopy, SOC, and a couple other acronyms that I can't remember right now.
Not the artist formerly known as Blackwater, though? Yeah.
No. I mean, maybe. I don't know. We don't talk about it. But so around 2012, his brother, Evan, joined on with the company, and that's kind of when they both got done with contracting. They were starting to have kids and families. So they were kind of going full bore into the company, taking some money they had left over from deployments and contracting to buy their first machine. And then it was pretty much just them and their wives running the company from the get-go until they hired their first employees on. So 2015, I believe, they moved from Delafield, Wisconsin to Watertown, which is where we are now. And then...
What's in Watertown?
Not much. A lot of churches. I think it has the highest population of churches in the state.
Oh, well, that's cool.
There's also the seminary.
Is there a reason why every time Wisconsin is shown on an alcoholics map, you guys are like a shining beacon of red? Is that why?
I mean,
the land of pole barns. And
yeah. I mean, you guys get winter here in Minnesota too, but like you know how it is. There's not much to do over the winter. But yeah, I actually grew up in the #1 state in the country, or the #1 city in the country for alcoholics. It's called a little town called Appleton, Wisconsin.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
And we have 7 out of the top 10 in the nation. So we put them away. I had a few at the hotel last night.
Wow. You guys know how to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, Ben, just tell us a little history about you, Ben. At what point did you join the company, and what has that been like? To be a part of the team there.
Yep. So, being from Wisconsin, I've been a lifelong deer hunter. Kind of got into duck hunting. That's what I like to do best. But 3 years ago, I started with the company here, Griffin, and that was kind of my first exposure to the whole suppressor world. I knew about them, never really saw a use case for it or why I would need one. After working there, that's obviously changed, and now I own multiple. But that was kind of my first intro, and then I just spent, first year of my employment there just trying to learn the company, learn the industry, learn the technology.
I got to ask, how'd you go from being a fry cook? We're out at the range today, and we had to take the suppressors off, but we were trying to speed along our shoot. But, I mean, these cans were like 400 degrees, and this guy's like, okay, yeah, No, how do you go from
twist it off.
Was that like a requirement to work at Griffin? Like you got to be able to take a 400-degree tube of metal off of the end of an AR-15?
They didn't test that part, but it was a nice benefit to have fry cook hands. But I mean, that was like my high school gig, and there was a lot of odd jobs and stuff in between there. I did HVAC, I did landscaping, did a radio station for a little while. So it was kind of floating around to a lot of things and kind of settled on video work and media and production and stuff like that. And that's kind of where I ended up here. So
yeah, many such cases.
I do have to cook for the people there sometimes.
That's cool.
No. You want to take like 15 pounds of pork chops back with you?
I was going to say, yeah. Well, this dude just gets like free meat at the gas station, apparently.
I went to pick us up some pizza, and the guy at Case is like, oh, they dropped off like 50 boxes of meat, and I can only fit 10 in my freezer. Do you want one? Like, yeah.
But this guy looks like a guy who just wants meat.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Just excessive amounts of meat in his freezer.
We mean that in the best way.
Yeah, nothing.
As I've got all of these.
Yeah. Very interesting shaped things. Okay, so
this is the year of the Suppressor.
Yes.
That's what we dubbed SHOT Show.
Yeah.
You go around SHOT Show.
You're the one who told me that.
Yeah, you go around SHOT Show this year, and there were companies that have never even spelled suppressor all of a sudden launching their first integrally suppressed upper receiver. They're launching 22 LR receivers. They're launching 308 and 375 and 50 cal.
Making them.
Yeah.
Like everyone's doing it. So how has that been this year for you guys? And with the changes that happened with the NFA, the tax stamp going to $0. We've said it 100 times. I don't know how you have a $0 tax. How's that affected you guys this year?
I mean, yeah, it was like a light switch going off. I mean, I think there were a lot of people who just didn't want to pay the $200 or didn't want to be, in the system or whatever. And that going away was a huge benefit. So Q1 of this year was pretty wild, and it's the most competitive it's ever been. But you get a lot of companies where they're not even, all these kind of new startups, nothing against these companies, I'm not trying to disparage them, but I don't think they have the level of experience and the machining technicality behind making them themselves as some of the more established brands do, like ourselves and the big names that everybody knows. So I think in the long run, there's going to be some startups that really take off, have some really good ideas, and stick around. I think the middle tier suppressor companies might struggle the most, if I had to guess. But and I think the established brands are going to do fine as a trusted name, But at the end of the day, a rising tide raises all ships, and the more competition, the better. As you were saying on the range, like the more competition there is, the more innovation you get, the more cool stuff you get, and that's kind of what we're seeing. Is really the last 3 years, the technology has really just gone off a cliff too, which is really cool in a good way, off a cliff.
Yeah. Launched upwards off that
cliff.
cliff.
Up a mountain or whatever.
Speaking of that innovation, you were telling us. So I don't know if you guys know this, but Griffin is doing some pretty innovative stuff. I just did a whole series on barrels over on our main channel. A big part of one of those videos was I was talking about 416R, how it was made. You guys did something similar to 416R just this year, where you basically manufactured. Was it this one?
All the printed, all the additive models.
Yeah. So tell me about what is it called? Why is it special? You guys have a patent on a metal.
Yeah.
I got to hear more.
So everybody's, excuse me. There's lots of different metals you can use. A lot of rimfire cans and pistol cans back in the day were aluminum because there wasn't much pressure there that was strong enough. And then, kind of steel was the be-all, end-all for rifle cans. Yep, that's going to be 17-4 stainless steel. It's a very common, material. It's very easy to cut on a machine. It's very strong. It's very affordable.
Pretty lightweight.
Yep. Yeah, you can make it lightweight because it's strong. You can use thinner walls and stuff like that. And then there's the more exotic alloys like titanium, which we don't use because it's terrible. We could get into that or not. But
why is it terrible? Titanium.
Yeah. There's a few reasons. It's expensive. It's hard to cut. It's really sparky. So if you're looking for low flash, it's virtually impossible with titanium. It's not, at the end of the day, very durable. And if you don't machine it correctly, you have to machine it in like a total inert atmosphere because that thermal cycling.
Very expensive.
Yeah. You're literally machining in a sealed chamber.
Yeah. Like a vacuum, basically, right?
Or, you have to do it without oxygen because that can make the titanium really brittle through heat cycling. So there's just a lot of risks. And we used to do a little bit of titanium, and we just kind of learned early on it was just not good for it. So we kind of went away from that, went with the steel. But now you get people, Inconel is kind of the hot one. There's Inconel.
We had a question about Inconel a while back, and why don't we use Inconels for barrels?
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I think it's mostly a cost thing, right? Am I?
I would assume.
Incorrect in that?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely right, and that's sort of the thing with these more exotic materials too, and kind of the content of your video is why do some of these silencers cost so much? Is a lot of it because of the material. It's such a exotic blend. Like for instance, this has vanadium, chromium, molybdenum. There's all these words that nobody can say that you probably didn't even know were on the periodic table. But it's like a blend of probably 16 different metals that go together to create this.
And that metal is basically like shaved in, basically like a big powder, right?
Yeah, it's very
how
fine.
You were described.
Yep.
And
yeah,
then,
it's powder.
And then it's kind of just added on to level by level.
Yep.
Into a whole thing like this.
Yep. And then a
Like these.
series of 4 lasers very accurately rip across it and melt each like 50 micron or whatever spec you're running the can at, layer by layer by layer for thousands of layers to build this up. So it's sort of the opposite of 3D printing, which I don't know if I can say that on the podcast.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like when you think of that, it's sort of building up. This is almost building down, and it's just laying powder over the top of the last melted layer.
So what is? Explain Inconel first, because I think we have to have perspective. We talked about steel. I think before we get into the stuff that you guys have been working on with this guy, I think people need to understand first what Inconel is, and it's not like a super simple thing to explain. You were kind of getting into the metallurgy out at the range, and there's some really weird words in there that make my tongue tie in knots.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a metallurgist either, but I did kind of absorb a lot of the information behind it when I was working with with Austin, our lead engineer, to kind of condense the information we got from the testing on the material into like a visual packet that we could show people to try to describe it to them. So that's on our website if you really want to go look at all the technical stuff. There's a data packet on there under our blogs. But so Inconel is pretty much, as far as I understand it, it's a similar blend of materials to this, just albeit a different mixture. So it's going to have nickel, iron, all those kind of materials that are on the list that you could look up because I can't think of them off the top of my head.
You said like 16 different ones though, right?
Yeah, it's a lot of different metals. And then, it's like any alloy. You combine 2 elements from the periodic table essentially, and you get new properties out of that alloy. So finding a blend that is high strength, high corrosion resistance, resistant to changes in dimension. Those are all things that are really good for silencers. With Inconel, I think it was really just the durability thing. People wanted something more durable than titanium or more durable than steel. Honestly, I think a lot of that is sometimes overkill for the vast majority of just civilian shooters. But, the law enforcement contracts and stuff want to be sure that their can's going to hold up no matter what, which totally makes sense.
Okay, so the composition of Inconel is 45 to 75% nickel, 14 to 31% chromium, 0 to 17% molybdenum, 0 to 22% cobalt, and then up to 5% tungsten, up to 2% aluminum, up to 3% titanium, up to 5% niobium, and 1% tantalum. Those are the metal compositions, and
very tantalizing sounding metals.
Those provide it with high temperature resistance, corrosion resistance, pitting corrosion resistance. I don't know what that means. And then the last 4 on there are listed as strength. But these are all in different types of Inconel. I guess there's more than one type of Inconel. And then do you know, is there like
The 2 common ones are 718. That's probably the one you'll see the most. Inconel 718, and then Inconel 625 is another one. They're pretty similar as far as I understand it. But then there's another one called Haynes 282, which is
like the ketchup.
Yes. No, Heinz.
Oh, Haynes.
Oh,
my bad.
So but long story short, they all have slightly different properties, and as I'm sure everyone knows, when you heat up metal, it gets soft and then eventually melts. So the higher the temperature that this can take, the more you can run it to that point without worrying about deforming anything, bulging tubes or anything like that.
Which is big in the era of like belt feds and FRTs and all this
100%.
types of stuff that we are not allowed to have here in Minnesota, but other places
Or on
you're
YouTube.
allowed to. Or on YouTube. Well, yeah, unless you're like T-Rex arms or something. But anyway, or PSR or anyway.
Yeah.
But lots of places can have that now. So very important to have way higher strength, like
Yep.
more durable heat resistance on
Yep.
those types of setups, or in military and law enforcement applications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kind of those other materials were all borrowed from other industries. So a lot of it was aerospace for making jet nozzles and expansion chambers.
So fun fact: before 416R,
Mm-hmm.
416 stainless steel was being used in a lot of barrels because it allowed the barrels to be more precise.
Mm-hmm.
And then I forget the name of the company right off the top of my head, but a company basically said, "This is good, but we can do better." And then they designed 416R, which is
What does the R stand for? Rifle?
rifle.
Oh,
so it's
really?
It's,
I
it's-
just made that up.
That's crazy.
Anyways, so basically, I forget the name of that company. I'd have to look it up. Maybe we can flash it on screen or something if CJ remembers in post. He probably won't. You might just have to Google it. But you guys have done something similar where it's like these metals from other industries are great, but can we do better? So I think that is what this can was made from.
Yep.
And can you just
But
tell
all
us?
a lot of these, most of these, right, are
All of
additive.
the additive ones
Yeah.
are. Yep. Anything
except
with that rough
for, except for
texture.
this one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like
So yeah,
all these
this
ones.
is, as far as we know, the first suppressor designed alloy that was mixed for this use case. Everything else was, jet nozzles, fuel pumps, high temp aerospace stuff, which I think works fine. But what we noticed was a lot of those materials, especially like Haynes 282, are built to withstand extreme amounts of heat for extremely long times. Because it's not just about how hot you get it; it's about how long it's at that temperature. That can like physically change the way the metal holds together. But with a suppressor, you're going up and you're coming back down. You're sitting at maybe you'd get to 1500 if you're really going nuts, but it's coming down. I mean, we saw that on the range where you get up to 800 and within 30 seconds it's down to 400, and it's a couple minutes later it's down to 300. So you don't need that. I mean, unless it's like a belt-fed can, which is where that Haynes stuff makes sense.
Yeah.
But we can go to a higher temperature with this stuff for a longer period of time with a shorter heat treatment than stuff like Inconel. So that all translates to lower cost than Inconel. It's lower weight and stuff like that. So
I'd love to ask this question. Do you find that let me know if this is like too much of an engineering question, but you haven't denied any of my questions at all all day.
That's
so
good.
it's like you really know your stuff, man. But is the additive process easier and making things cheaper to do things at scale, or to do things faster? Because when I think of additive manufacture, 3D whatever stuff, 3D processes, I think of people just churning out stuff really fast on their little like plastic machine that
Sure.
they have
Yep.
in their garage or whatever, and they're just like churning and burning stuff.
Yep.
And so it's like, oh, like does that mean people can just, or you guys can just make like a zillion of these super fast and it's like
Yeah.
way easier? Or like, can you talk a little bit about that?
yeah, so I mean, the machines are probably, I guess I don't really know how to describe it. Maybe the width, a little longer than this table,
Okay.
about as deep, and then maybe 8 feet tall. Wow. But your build chamber is essentially a plate about this big, and then you can go about that high. So you're limited to that amount of space. So we can get, I believe, 36.5-inch diameter cans on a build at a time, and that's just packing them all in there. And then we have 2 machines running, so we can do about 72 in 12 hours, obviously depending on the length that you're printing. So it is, I mean, from that sense, it's easy.
Yeah.
Press the button, come back in 12 hours, cut them off the plate, and you've got 36 cores.
Yeah. Hey.
So, I mean, whereas opposed to, something like this, you've got a tube, a mounting system, 6 baffles, an end cap. That's almost 10 parts, could
all
be more.
being actively CNC'd.
Yeah.
Yep, all being cut,
And they got to be welded and
welded
everything
together.
else. Yeah.
Yep. So there's that end of it, whereas this one literally has 2 welds or 1. So
Yeah.
it's a lot faster from that sense. As far as the cost, it's not at all cost effective. I mean, you have one guy operating it, but the machines are $1.2 million each.
Wow.
And then you've got all of the ancillary stuff, like you have to have a argon tank because, again, you're welding this all in an inert environment. We have nitrogen generators. We have hydrogen, I believe, is another one.
You got antimatter containers.
Yeah, basically. Yep.
The key term is manufacturing is hard.
Yeah, it's
You need
very
a
hard.
lot of stuff.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
I always have to used to explain this to people. I worked previously at a helmet manufacturing place, and it's like, we're not a holster company. You know, I need giant 500-ton presses.
Yeah.
We need 30 employees that are just putting stuff together. It's not a holster company. You're not in the garage with a heat gun and a press
molding
slapping
it to a
over
Glock. Yeah.
It's way different.
Right.
So something that we actually talked about earlier with you was the issue of finding skilled machinists in the United States right now. And I know that's something that you were talking about today in the video that we're about to be putting out with CJ. And I know it's something that I've seen elsewhere in the industry, and it's just
Even outside the industry.
yeah,
almost anywhere.
all over it. And it's like, that's a hard discussion to have if you've never been in like a manufacturing facility,
Right.
And you've just seen how hard it is. Because it's like, I want to bring you in to run the CNC, and I want to give you a great salary, but you have never done anything like this before.
Yeah.
So you're basically less than an apprentice, and you're probably going to break something very expensive.
And that machine is $300,000,
Yeah.
and the tool is $5,000, and it's like,
And these are,
Yep.
printing 20 of these or however many
Yep.
on one press is
Yeah.
like, that's a lot of money.
This is probably the cheapest part of the machine while it's sitting on it.
yeah.
yeah, it is. I mean, if you touch the inside of the glass window, it's like $20,000.
Yeah, for a guy to come out and look at it.
Yeah, it's like it's pretty wild. It's really the cutting edge of that technology. So,
So I did ask. We can get back to the labor part in a little bit here because I think that's an interesting conversation. But what I was sort of driving at with that last question was, is the whole additive process, maybe not after what we just talked about, but is the whole additive process, do you see that really impacting the industry, the suppressor market in particular, and making this process easier for more companies to do? Because like Josh said earlier, any Tom, Dick, and Harry is trying to trying to do a suppressor, either start a suppressor company or add on to their existing line of products that may have nothing to do with suppressors. So is like, are you seeing that a lot of people are trying to get these machines or trying to get a version of this process in their shop in-house so that they can start doing it? And is this going to open up the suppressor market a lot, or is it too complicated, too expensive to get into? Do you think?
I think a lot of the companies that are coming out with additive cans in the last 3 years they're like most of them, I would say, are not making their own. They're white labeling from a shop that has 30 of these machines, and they're doing parts for aerospace. They're doing parts for whatever. Basically, just send the design and they'll print it for you, and then you bring it back, do whatever you got to do to it to make it yours. So I think that is a really big barrier to entry as far as bringing it in house. But there are a lot of opportunities from to outsource that stuff, as we've seen with a lot of the companies jumping on board. But so I think either you'd need some significant monetary backing from like an investor if you wanted to bring this in house and just start making silencers like out of nowhere. But what you're not going to get with that is 21 years of experience, R&D, blood, sweat, and tears. Doing the work, figuring out why things don't work, why you want to do this angle, this geometry here, not there. So that sort of stuff is what I think sets the companies apart that have been doing it for a while. Is they have a lot more experience of
More time in the figure it out phase.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the benefit that you guys, other suppressor companies, but especially you guys that have like been doing it, because you guys design and build and manufacture, like you guys do the thing.
Yep.
If you buy from some new startup, you don't know if they're the ones that designed it or if someone else. I'm not like dogging on anybody in particular. I'm just saying in general.
Right.
A lot of these newer places, it's like, well, where'd they get it from? Or how are they doing it? It's like with you guys and with some other brands, it's like, that you've done it. You guys done the work. You did the testing.
Yeah, you just have to break it down to raw math, right? So One of these is they sell. I think MSRP. We're looking like
$924, I think.
$925.
Yeah.
Of that, probably $400-500 is like the base cost of the can. Then obviously these guys aren't selling stuff for free. They have to make a profit, so they're making their profit margin. So say they're making, I don't know the actual numbers. You don't have to correct me. I don't expect.
I'm not
you
going to
to
say because I don't know.
say they're making like $400 a suppressor or something. Now take 1.25 million, divide it by 400, and then they can do like 70 of them every 12 hours or something. So do the math. That's a really expensive machine to have, and then that's not counting the time you have to spend
Operating.
not just operating it, maintaining it, meeting all of the regulations to actually run it, because there's going to
Licensing.
be
Well, and materials too. You guys said you
Yep.
got argon and all this other antimatter and whatever. Like that
Yeah.
stuff's hard to find.
The filters that sieve the powder out, because it goes, all the powder that gets shaken out gets reused, but it'll go through a sieve to like take out any big like balls that come out of the welding process. That sieve is like one-time use pretty much.
Yeah.
So you filter
and that
it
costs
and then
money.
and then you've got to throw that away. It's like,
Wow, that's crazy. So I want to get back to the labor piece, because I do think this is really interesting. And we're not at all like a political podcast or anything like that, but I think it's an interesting conversation. But how are you guys, because we had touched on it, we didn't really finish that. How are you guys combating this problem of having these really high-end machines, and you guys are American made, obviously you're doing you're doing stuff
doing the thing
in the States. You're doing the thing that everyone campaigns on every election cycle.
maybe USA.
Yeah, exactly. Which is great. But how are you guys overcoming those problems that you see of inexperience or lack of experience or whatever it might be?
Yeah. No, we have a really great team of machinists: Rick, Tom, Tony, Wes. Love you guys. They're phenomenal at what they do. But yeah, it's especially being in Watertown's a town of maybe 50,000 people. It's relatively small. And just, if you look back 50 years, this country was just a manufacturing powerhouse. Everybody worked in a machine shop or foundry doing something like that. And
An assembly line for a car dealer or whatever. Yeah.
And I get it. It's hard work. It's laborious work. People, I don't blame them for not wanting to do that. But it's kind of sad to see. And I would almost, you said we're not political, but I would almost take it a step further. Like my boss has said this, Austin. It's honestly a matter of national security at this point. Because if you don't have manufacturing within your country and you get into some serious conflict and you don't have access to the global economy anymore, you're screwed. So it's kind of an oversight from the political class in our opinion, but it is also just kind of how it goes, I think. It's cheaper to send that stuff and
wind
people
back
move
up
on.
on that big core value. We end up back on the big figure it out.
Yeah.
That's where you wind up at the end of that road, is the big figure it out. I think it's one of the big,
Is it a matter, both of you guys have worked in this space of manufacturing. Is it a matter of training? Is it a matter of like apprenticeship, kind of what you said, Josh? Is it a matter of, I don't know, paying people a lot more? Like, what is it a matter? Like, how do you get from, how have you guys done this, Josh? How have you experienced this back in your time of, how do you get from back in your time of like working at a manufacturing
not that
place?
old, man.
No, back in your time, because you've done a lot of work of onshoring, of reshoring.
1930.
Yeah, back in the helmet days. Yeah, when you were printing the helmets for
off my
World War
lawn.
I. How do you deal? How do you deal with the just bringing back or training people and getting people acquainted with the machinery?
So I actually think we're going to be just fine. If you look at the bigger picture, there's I don't know if you guys have ever checked it out. You can go on Twitter, you can go on Instagram, and you can just search the hashtag reindustrialize. There's a huge movement in the United States right now to bring jobs and manufacturing jobs back to the United States. I think in the long run, we're going to end up being just fine, especially as AI is pushing into a lot of the more white collar positions. It's making it so you don't need 15 interns. You need one intern to run AI that'll do 15 interns worth of work in the white collar space.
Yeah.
So I think those jobs are going to get fewer, and we're going to see more work shifting back to manufacturing. And AI and robotics is going to make that way faster over time as well. So it's a really hard question that I don't think we're equipped to answer
Yeah.
on the AT3
Right.
Tactical podcast. But
Yeah.
Very
I
wise
think,
answer.
I think the companies that are going to find the most success with manufacturing are companies that have they care about their people, they pay them what they're worth, they invest back into those people, i.e., they have good health benefits, they have good dental benefits, they have a strong 401k, they pay well. I think those are the companies that are really going to thrive when it comes to reindustrialization and manufacturing. Because if you've got a good 9-to-5 job and you work on a CNC machine all day and you've built that skill. I mean, even just right down the road from us here at AT3, we've got nanotechnology, the guys that make all like little watch gears and stuff. That's like right down by my house. You know? So we do have a lot of that still here. It's just not where it used to be. And I think one of the other big hiccups that we've got is there's kind of, and you might have seen this, especially in the metals place, but there's kind of like a good old boys club with some of those shops where it's like, oh, I've never worked with you before, so I don't want to bother working with you because I don't know if you're going to pay your bills.
Right.
So there's always a little bit of hesitancy there. But I think as we move past that, and especially as people from our generation start standing up these machine shops and they start bringing that into the modern world, because a lot of those guys and it's nothing against some of the 50, 60, 70-year-old guys running machine shops, but the .com boom happened and they were just like, I don't care. I'm running a CNC machine. What do I care? I don't need a website.
Yeah.
But now our generation is starting to get in there. It's like, hey, let's build a website. Hey, let's make it easier to do logistics all online. Like one click, you can buy your metals from us. There's a company called Knox Metals. You can buy chunks of aluminum from them in one click, and they'll get it to you the next day. They'll drive it to you.
Yeah.
They're just insane companies like that are starting up. And I think, in the long run, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I think we're just going to have to hit a bump and drive over it and then get right back to it. I don't know. You might have seen something different.
No, I think I came off a little pessimistic. I think what I meant was the trend was not that we're like in this crisis mode now, but I think the trend definitely has reversed. I would agree with you. But I feel like it was looking like it was trending just to a point where it was not going to be good. But yeah, I mean, there's still plenty of people doing it. Plenty of people love doing it. New people learning it. It'd just be cool if it could kind of have it used to be like pretty illustrious if you had like a machine job.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think what's cool in our space, getting back to like suppressors and just kind of the overall gun world, what's cool in our space is there's way more American-made stuff in our industry that is competitively priced that is that way more than like other industries, right? So like, for example, if you want to buy hoodies, if you want to start a hoodie company, well, the first thing you're going to do if you're going to do that is outsource it to, somewhere overseas, probably. If you're trying to do that like in the States, that's really hard. But if you want to manufacture something like handguards, or if you want to manufacture something like, upper receivers or bolt carrier groups or barrels or suppressors, like that's in my mind, like that is not only necessary, but very important to do in the States because, no one knows guns like we do, right? Like
We kind of got that unlocked.
Yeah, we kind of got that on lockstep. Like no one knows guns like we do. And I guess the Germans, HK.
The Germans have kind of fallen off over the last couple of years.
Well, that's true. Yeah. HK, anyway, but no one knows guns, and no one knows how to produce gun parts on mass like we do.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
100%.
So I think that's kind of a cool thing about our industry, and that's something I've learned getting into this space is like, and especially coming from like another industry, LED lighting, which is super outsourced to other countries. It's like, wow, there's a lot of American-made stuff here, which is great, I think. And there's lots of great companies doing, either white labeling or manufacturing from scratch, like what you guys are doing, and it's just. And I think that's great.
So I do have to loop this back.
Yeah.
So 416R,
Yes.
Canal.
Yes.
You guys invented your own metal.
Yes. And I got to say the name because it's trademarked. Nickel 625X.
Wow.
So
What's the
that's
X?
the name. Extreme.
Extreme.
This is like is this thing,
We're very
is
literal.
this thing full of Surge energy drinks?
No, it's just a lot of nickel.
Is it going to do like the 900 on the vert ramp or something?
do each one of those things means?
Pounding Red Bull.
So do each one of those things mean? I assume each one of those things means something. So nickel. H25X, is that what you said?
625.
625. So
Yeah.
do you know like what the 6?
So you
means,
got
what
me
the-
there. I do not know what the 625 means. I'm sorry, Austin.
No, that's okay.
We'll figure it out when
That's
I get
the
back.
only question all day that you haven't been able to answer.
Yeah.
Which is very impressive.
I think it's again. I
It's
shouldn't
probably
even
like
say.
2% this and 6% that or something like that.
I have no idea.
Okay.
To be
Is
honest.
it like an automotive industry metal or
This one?
Yeah.
No, this is.
So I'm just wondering if the 625, because I know like
Oh.
with 4140, 4150, the 41 is like what type of metal. The 4 is something, the 1 is something, and then the 40 is like the amount of, what is it, carbon that's in the metal.
Sure.
So it's like.
I'm
per
assuming
100,
it's something like that. I just don't know what it is specifically.
We're
off the top
gonna,
of my
Austin, I need you to
Yeah.
email me immediately. I need
Austin,
to know.
text me. Oh, this isn't live?
We're live streaming right now.
Help out.
Yeah, we're live streaming. It's fine. It's fine.
Well, you got one on me. That's good. I'm glad there's a question I wasn't able to answer.
So what is it? What does it do? Why is it better?
So we're going to get real specky here.
Okay.
This.
Trying to avoid buzzwords if you can, and lay it
Okay.
out like we don't understand what it is.
Okay, I'm going to give you the
Can't
pitch.
just say it's cold hammer forged.
No. This is the pitch here. Ready? So this is 68% stronger than Inconel 625 at 1200 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh.
So at 1200 degrees Fahrenheit between the two metals, this is going to be 68% stronger than the strong alloy that every other company's using,
That's
which
a
is
very
great.
exact percent.
Yeah.
It is, and I believe it's 70% at 1400. I could be wrong, but you can check the data packet.
Wow.
So we are going to hold strength to a higher temperature as well for a longer period of time. So this has a surface temperature of 1500 degrees, which I believe is 100 degrees higher than Inconel 625. And that's just all related to corrosion resistance, I believe. So as metals heat up, they corrode faster typically. This is going to resist that corrosion to a higher temperature.
So let me interrupt the spec list for 1 second, because I think this is important to kind of understand. Walk me through, because not many people are going to be. First of all, not many people can afford like an FRT belt fed crazy thing and heat this thing up to 1400 degrees. But that's not necessarily what this is all for. Because can you explain what that does? What this kind of enhanced metal does to the lifespan of the can?
Yes. So you're going to get a much longer lifespan out of this. It's not going to corrode as fast, especially on that blast baffle. That's typically where you can see it. After 10,000 rounds or whatever with a traditional style can. Our old ones were always rated for 50,000. So these are likely well above that. We just say 50,000 plus because who shoots 50,000 rounds? Most people don't in their
Who keeps
life.
track of 50,000?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every single person in the YouTube comments shoots.
Oh, I know they have. Yeah, I believe them
this year.
too.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
probably. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
We love you guys.
Oh yeah, we do. I don't shoot that many, so good on you guys. But yeah, so kind of another way to relate this is, the reason we didn't want to go with sort of the ones that were already being used, like I think Inconel 718 or 625, is their advertised strength specs are dependent upon a really expensive and time-consuming heat treat process. So whereas this, we have to heat treat for, I think it's maybe an hour, 2 hours at 1095. The other Inconels, you have to heat treat for 24 hours at some temperature that I'm not aware of. So that all translates to increased cost for those models. So a lot of the companies using that material likely don't even do that because it's so cost prohibitive. Now in aerospace, they probably do because you need that and they have the money for it. So honestly, with a lot of the Inconels out there, you might not even be getting what they're pitching you as the marketing strength specs for it if they don't do that heat treat process.
This is probably the real reason we don't make barrels out of Inconel, because imagine Inconel barrel blanks, how expensive those would be. 16 inches of Inconel that has gone through a 24-hour heat treat. I think that is the real answer.
Right.
It's the manufacturing process is too long.
You got to think that someone would have done that at this point, though. Someone would have made an Inconel barrel somewhere. If anybody knows of anybody who's made an Inconel barrel, I would love to know, because even if it is very cost prohibitive, someone at some point would have had to have tried it, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
At some point. Okay, but anyway, So you were saying,
Yeah, so that all means that we can print using this super advanced, robust material that you may not even need if you're just kind of a casual shooter. But it's not really raising the price. I mean, all of the models, these were all this one. These were all models that we had that were coming out of the traditional CNCs. We just moved them to the additive machines to free up more space so we could do other stuff in the CNC. And we honestly, I don't think raised the cost on any of these over the previous generations.
I think this is the only non-additive can on the table.
On the table, yep. So we weren't, jacking up the prices. Everything on this table is under $1,000. Can I say that?
Yeah,
Under
yeah,
$1,000. Okay. So I mean, you'll see some of the Inconel and titanium cans going for $1,500. I mean, that's not totally uncommon.
Wow.
But we were able to
I have a Surefire RC3 that was like 12 or 13, 15 after, because I had to pay a $200 tax stamp.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure it's like
That.
Yeah, right.
so.
And
But you got the Surefire
It
name,
says Surefire
Josh.
on the side of it, guys.
It says Surefire, and the real guys use those when they do raids on compounds and stuff.
They do.
So
No, actually, most of them are using the Knights Armament Company.
Yeah.
well.
that's the big one.
whatever. We don't got
That's
to
the
talk
real
about that.
cool guy can.
That's the real cool
Yeah.
guy. But you're not that cool.
But I
So
don't have $3,000. So
right. Exactly.
for this.
Right.
So, but what do you see the future of the industry going? Maybe a little bit about what your guys' plans are too, but whatever you're allowed to talk about. But then also just kind of the future of the industry. Like there's been this year, I feel like from here since like 6 months ago when the year started, we were like, oh, what's gonna happen? And now it's like a whole bunch of people have
Here we
suppressors
go.
now. There's all
Yeah.
kinds of there's money going everywhere. $1 million machines. What do you think the industry is going to do in the next 2 years, the next 5 years?
Yeah,
Like,
I
where do you
mean,
see that going?
they're becoming ubiquitous at this point. I mean, I was talking to the guys over at Barrel and Hatchet. They do training courses. They have a YouTube channel too. Really good guys over there. And he was saying that five years ago, he would get maybe 10-20% of his students had suppressors on. Now he says it's 80 or 90. So
Really?
I mean, it's just at this point it's a safety thing. The technology's come so far that there's really not a lot of downsides to putting one on. I mean,
It improves the shooting experience so much.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Like we
unsuppressed
were shooting
is
that 22 LR with the can today, and like it was, the cardboard breaking was literally
Yeah.
louder
Oh, yeah.
than the gunshot.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no reason not to have a suppressor when it's a $0 stamp. The only thing holding people up at this stage from keeping their hearing safe and from just having a much smoother shooting experience is all of the dumb paperwork and background checks and fingerprints and government overreach that essentially shouldn't be. Like if we're in Norway, you can just go into a store and buy this. It's
A lot of
it's
countries,
PPE.
you can't own a gun unless you have a suppressor on it.
It's
Yeah.
proper
Yeah.
protective equipment is what this is classified as.
Right.
In most countries, but in ours, for some reason, because of Hollywood making
Yeah.
movies with sound effects where some guy is sitting in a sound studio cracking spaghetti to make suppressor sounds. Like it's still really
Oh my gosh, you
loud,
can
guys.
walk through an airport and shoot and no one will hear you, like in John Wick, the famous John Wick scene where he's shooting downstairs and the guy's shooting upstairs and it's like no one in the whole thing can hear anything and it's like, oh, okay.
Totally ridiculous.
So we actually,
I will say the downside that I personally experienced today, and I'm still kind of feeling it at the range, was eating a little bit of that gas because I did do like a 60 round mag dump at a time, which I think ended up being like 90 rounds because I did 10 and then a string of 60 and then 10. That's kind of the only thing I would say is like the real downside. But even so, you have so much, like there's tons here that have, better ways to have gas flow through the system. And it just being a way better experience. But I know a lot of guys are now. I was watching a Dirty Civilian video a couple of days ago, and they were talking about how a lot of people are Dirty Civilian, super fans of them. Anyway, they were talking about how a lot of guys are starting to wear masks along with like ear and eye pro, and they're kind of if they're shooting suppressed, especially indoors a lot.
Yeah.
Josh, you were dogging on me for this, but this is a Dirty
just
Civilian
don't
thing.
know
They
if I
brought it up,
care.
so it wasn't my idea. But
No, I think if you're shooting indoors, it's a good idea.
yeah, like having a mask along with ear and eye pro, if you're shooting suppressed a lot, that's kind of what they're doing now.
So my buddy Jerry should probably start using a respirator because his lead levels are almost at dangerous levels because he is actually shooting 15,000 rounds a month.
Yeah. Okay.
Just because he's trying to break
Suppressed,
guns.
mostly.
Yeah, he's just trying, and indoors. He's just trying to break guns for manufacturers.
Sure.
He thinks it's
And
fun.
he's like a younger guy too, right?
Yeah,
he's like my age.
he's, I think he's like maybe 2 years older than you. I think he might have just turned 30 recently. But yeah, he's someone that should consider just getting a cheap Mira or Avon or whoever.
Yeah.
Just a cheap respirator,
Right.
3M, doesn't matter, anything, and just wear that while he's shooting. I mean, if you're outside, you're mostly fine.
Yeah, that kind of brings up a point I was going to mention is everyone's talking about low back pressure and the two words I can't say because it's trademarked by a certain company, the high flow cans. That became like a super big thing, and it really only became possible with the additive technology. But I think a lot of that was sort of pushed by the gun tuber people who are shooting a crap load. So like for them, totally makes sense. Like you guys are getting exposed to so much lead with these things. You want that to be as low back pressure as possible for your own safety. But I think for, the average Joe Schmo with his one AR, such as myself, I'm not insinuating you people are Joe Schmoes. I'm saying I'm a Joe Schmo who, shoots maybe 2,000 rounds a year. I'd go to the range a couple times over the summer.
Yeah.
I'm not out there tactically training, which I probably should be. But like for me, it's not that big of a deal. I'm not gonna have any adverse side effects to that low amount of exposure, in my opinion. So I would always take, more of a managed back pressure unit that's gonna give you a little better flash reduction, a little better sound reduction, over like a total high flow
So I think
suppressor.
sound reduction is actually something we should talk about real quick. So CJ is doing a big video on like cheap versus expensive suppressors, trying to determine if a $500 can is literally 100% worse than a $1,000 can. And I don't think that's the results we came up today. It was more of like a like moderate versus high performance kind of thing is what I think we found. But something that I found interesting, I was running the camera today because I'm a camera operator.
Yeah. So if the footage is shaky and you can't say anything, that's all Josh's fault. Not my bad.
But no, you brought up a bunch of spec sheets, and I think one of the stats that I didn't know existed was there's actually like a number, like a round count number. You can be exposed to this number X number
Dosing.
of times per day.
Yep.
Can you? I just need to have you explain that to me
Yeah.
one more time.
Yep.
In a way that I'm not like trying to focus on cameras.
No, you're good.
autofocus.
Yeah. No, we started because we post all of the sound tests on our channel. We have the whole setup that.
Is that paper is over there?
Yeah, I could grab it if you want.
Yeah.
Pull it up here. I don't think anybody would be able to see it.
And
we're back.
He's back. Welcome back.
So this is, how do I explain this? We run this through basically a pressure microphone. There's one that it's kind of the standard. It's the one the military uses, the Army uses, and stuff like that. That's the one we use. It's like a $40,000 setup with the software and the microphones and keeping it all, climate controlled.
The funny thing is, actually, before you continue, was we had actually talked about this when before I sent you the email of like, hey, do you have like a sound meter that you could bring out that we could like test stuff? And our joke was like, well, they either have like a $20 one or they have like a $20,000 one.
Yeah, right.
And we were actually off on that. Turns out it's $40,000.
Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more than you'd think. And there were the old analog ones that Griffin used for years at the start, and they work okay, but it's just a little harder to control all the variables, I think, especially when you're outside.
Yeah, of course.
But what we were talking about with dosing is this system, when it takes just a pressure level, so that's essentially like, you can think of it like kilopascals, or dB is essentially a pressure wave measurement of how much pressure is being forced through the air at that time.
Because any sound is just pressure waves going
it's
through
just
the
molecules
air to
hitting
reverberate
each
sound.
other.
That's how you hear us on the podcast.
That's crazy. Over the interwebs.
Dosing.
I'm
interested.
Sorry. Okay. So this whole thing has an algorithm that it's tuned to, and we tune it what's called the AHA standards, the Auditory Human Hazard Assessment, AHAAH. We have a video on that too. You can go watch that if you want. It's like 20 minutes long, but Austin kind of goes through that a little more. That's the standard we've adopted, and a couple other people use that same standard. It's not just us that do that. So this will then spit out an algorithm that gives you, based on the pressure, the peak pressure data, the length of the pressure wave, how long in time that sound takes to propagate through the air, the frequency, there's like secondary peaks and all these different measurements. So you get, this is 70 milliseconds of time that we're looking at this pressure wave. So it'll analyze this pressure wave, frequency, all that stuff, and it will spit out essentially a number for you called dosing. And what that means is essentially how many shots of that specific setup that you're running can the unprotected ear be exposed to in a week without risking hearing damage. So that's all going to depend on the location as well. So we take 3 measurements, one at the muzzle, and then one at the left ear, one at the right ear, to get like a really comprehensive 360-degree view of what the silencer is doing to the sound. So you'll get a dosing level for the muzzle. So that would be like if I was standing 1 meter to the muzzle for this HRT5, it's telling me I could eat 467 shots in a week and not risk permanent hearing damage.
With no ear protection.
With no ear protection. And then you go to the shooter's perspective. So left ear, we got 82.8, and the right ear, 66.9. That 400 number is pretty wild. You're typically, I mean, a good suppressor is up close to 100, but I mean, that's like an excellent suppressor, I would say. But like anything over, you know, I mean, there's the, what was I going to say? The what's the bazooka called?
AT4?
Yeah.
Carl Gustav?
That has a dosing of 1 per week.
With hearing protection too, I'd bet.
Nope. Without is what they say.
Wow.
So it kind of gets
how
weird
many
at the
how many
edge.
times have they tested that though?
Right. It's like 180 something decibels. It's like the
Yeah.
loudest thing on the planet.
You might be thinking
So-
of the SMAW.
Oh, maybe that's
You're
what it
thinking
was.
of the, I think it's called the Mark 153 SMAW.
I think that's what it was.
So,
yeah.
that thing will knock your teeth out when
Yeah.
you shoot it.
Yeah.
And it has a little spotting rifle. It's just the most adorable thing. It's a 308 round with a 9mm on it.
Yeah.
And it's like all. It's a tracer. It's like it's like you shoot a glowing ping pong ball.
Yeah.
And it's slaved to the rocket. So
Wow.
you'll shoot like 5 rounds until that ping pong ball hits what you want to hit. And then you try to shoot the rocket without moving. And the thing with that rocket is it's so loud and it kicks you so hard that a lot of the times when people shoot it and they're not trained for it, they'll just mess it up because they'll go up or they'll go down. And so the thing with rockets is they're recoilless. So it's a recoilless weapon. There's no recoil. Well, when you shoot something for the first time, think about the first time you shot a handgun. When you pulled the trigger, what'd you do? You flinched for the recoil.
Yeah.
Braced
Yeah.
for the recoil. Well, people do that with rockets, and then they'll dump them
Aim
like
down.
30 feet in front of themselves.
Oh no.
Jeez. Oh God.
Terrible.
Oof.
We'll get one of those on the channel soon, guys.
Yeah, we'll do a whole video how to shoot a small rocket.
yeah.
Can I come back for that? We can sound test it. I don't care. I'll bring the $40,000 setup.
Sweet.
If I can shoot the missile
We can
launcher.
do it. We'll make it a whole thing.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or come do an indoor range. That'll be great.
Oh yeah.
So that's dosing essentially, and this is all up on our YouTube. I think we started doing what we call hot wash, where basically Austin sits down and breaks down what this information means, because a lot of people, like most people, just don't know what any of this means,
So
which is totally
is
understandable.
Austin like a nerd with this stuff?
Oh, totally.
Like he could just sit there and talk forever
Yeah.
about. So there's guys like
Ian-
that in the armor world too, where they can just
Yeah.
sit down. It's like sitting down with Charlie and having him talk about like
6 arc.
whatever his current obsession of the week is, which
Yeah.
for the last few weeks has been 6 arc and PRS.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
The
just
dude
like,
invented a new metal. It's like
so he could
yeah.
make a cooler can.
You have to be
Yeah.
pretty nerdy to do that, I will
Yeah.
say. But that's super cool though, because
Yeah.
I mean that puts you guys, I think, head and shoulders above some
Yeah,
other people.
he's a pretty impressive guy.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
Ben,
about-
we appreciate you coming all the way from Wisconsin to Minnesota. I know you had to drive through the Macara market to get here, but you made it. You're fine.
Yeah, in a Viking territory.
yeah.
I mean, it's not as bad as Bears territory like this guy.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
not,
We'll be
not
all right.
quite as bad.
we got along, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Absolutely.
So we appreciate you coming up. You guys are more than welcome to come over
Absolutely.
anytime. We're
good.
going to leave a link to, actually, we're going to find the video that explains this dosing stuff on your
Yeah.
YouTube channel. If you can send us a link.
I can send you
I'm going to
that.
put a card to that probably like right above my head. So you guys can go check that out and learn a little bit more about this stuff. Make sure you guys go check out Griffin and all their socials. You can find them on Instagram, except you're probably going to find Griffin Armament Precision before you find
Yeah, we're
Griffin
shadow
Armament.
banned. It's Griffin_Armament on
then,
Instagram.
and then what's the Twitter? We'll put it all down.
Yeah,
right
it's
here.
like
Yeah.
it's some variation of Griffin Armament. I think YouTube's Griffin Armament official. Twitter, I think, is just Griffin Armament. It might be Griffin_. I should know this.
Yeah. It's just,
Aren't you like
people will find you.
in charge of this stuff?
Yeah, but see, I never have to look it up because I'm
Oh.
the owner of the account.
Hey, Maida,
so
can
I
you
just
email me all of that information? We'll pop it down here. I know you're the only one that works over there.
Maid is the social lady. Yeah, she is. She is.
She
We'll
does a
catch
great
you
job.
guys in the next one.